everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Their Own Words, where I take statements from people and let you know what I really think they're saying. This is just a mediocre YouTube channel, so if you happen to like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe to help my channel grow. Today we're going to be talking about Enrique Delgado Garcia, a young man who was part of the Massachusetts State Police training program. He was a couple weeks away from graduating. They were apparently, according to the Massachusetts State Police, doing a training, tactical fighting, boxing camp, and he got injured, and his injuries were so severe that he was rushed to the hospital, later succumbed to those injuries, and died. This is following a lot of backlash that the Massachusetts State Police has gotten since the Karen Reed trial, where they found that they mishandled the investigation, could have tampered with the investigation, up to and including framing Karen Reed, and mishandling the Sandra Birchmore investigation, where they deemed her death a suicide, and it turns out it may have been a homicide. The Massachusetts State Police has been making a lot of news lately, and the news has not been good. I found this little blip of an article on Twitter. So according to the Massachusetts State Police, they said in a statement that he suffered a medical crisis during a defensive tactics training and became unresponsive. He was later rushed to the hospital where he died. Delgado's family said their loved one suffered a broken neck, missing teeth, and severe brain damage, and now are demanding accountability as well as explanations to what went on inside of the walls of the academy. I've heard a little bit of gossip through the interwebs. I've heard that there is a video of the sparring that the police might have available. I don't think we as a public have seen that video yet, but it will be interesting to see. I have heard that the broken neck is broken cervical vertebrae, which means it is part of the vertebrae that are up high in your spine, which is interesting to me. The missing teeth is interesting to me because generally when you are doing some sort of sparring, you're protecting certain parts of your body, and your opponent is protecting certain parts of your body. When you're sparring, you're not trying to cause brain damage to your sparring partner nor knock their teeth out. So looking at this, my first instinct of the situation, not knowing anything that the public doesn't know, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, was this man curb stomped? Because that's what it looks like to me. I wonder if this man found himself in a situation where his head was slightly elevated and his shoulders were towards the ground and his neck was in a position where it was not touching anything. Rather, it was like it was slightly suspended in the air, and somebody came up behind him and stomped him in the back of the head and the neck, trying to insert dominance over him in a move that should have never been done in any sort of defense tactic training, and curb stomp this man to death. And it's a horrifying thought. There's a lot of moves in the sparring, wrestling, boxing world that are no longer acceptable. They're outlawed, they're banned. And it's because those moves injure, paralyze, and kill people. And if those moves are being used on a young man, training recruit, that's bad. And then it comes down to, why were these moves being used? Was it to insert dominance over him? Or even worse, was this a hate crime? Was this a crime of race? Was this a white officer who was putting a Latino man, a young Latino man, in their place? Is this a white officer who was trying to pull off a move that he thinks he sees in the street? Because real life street moves have real life consequences. And I don't think that people who are protected by a gun and a badge and don't have that forethought are thinking of that. They're not thinking, if I make this gangster move, it's going to have gangster consequences, up to and including killing somebody. We don't know. We're not going to know for a while. This is traumatizing, and it's just another issue that has to be investigated that the Massachusetts State Police is behind. And it's just another reason not to trust the Massachusetts State Police, and the community is just that much more scared of coming into contact with the Massachusetts State Police. And we feel bad for the family. This man was 25 years old with a family who really loves him and who wants answers. And on top of it, I have the understanding that the family there's a language barrier there, and that family deserves deserves to be communicated with in their language, in the language that they understand clearly. And there's rumors that they weren't accommodated that way, and that's absolutely inappropriate. We need people in positions of authority that can communicate with citizens in the language that they speak. We needed Enrique to be out on the street. We need him to be a Massachusetts State Police officer. This is just another example of the consequences of people's action and lack of thought. There was a press conference today. It's pretty disappointing as well. We'll go ahead and listen to that. I'll let you know what I think in their own words that they're really saying behind the scenes. Off the bat, zooming in on Enrique's mother crying and sobbing is just gross on all sorts of levels. I'm not sure what led to her being up front and center like that, to be shown like a show pony for this press conference. But I hope that's what she wanted, and that if that's not what she wanted, that is, again, just another sign of disrespect. I hope that she was communicated with appropriately, and that she knew that this is what they were asking of her, and that this is what she wanted for the press conference.
Maria, you come over here, interpret, please. All right. You're right here, okay?
If you don't mind, I'm sorry, it just looks awkward.
Okay. I'm right over here.
Just a
Jeff, you would Terry over here. Please. Yep. Right this good. Yep. Okay. All right. Good morning. Enrique Delgado Garcia was pronounced deceased at UMass Hospital Lakeside at 4:30 p.m. on September 13th, Saturday. Enrique Delgado Garcia was loved by everyone in our office. He's a dedicated victim witness advocate who joined our office and was with us for about a year and a half before he left our office in April to fulfill a lifelong dream of joining the Massachusetts State Police. This is a time of mourning for Enrique's family, friends, and loved ones. This includes many of us, his fellow victim witness advocates, office employees who worked alongside Enrique within our office. This is a heartbreaking and tragic loss. Enrique constantly worked to make life better for others. He was one of the first ones to help, whether it was the victims he was advocating for, his fellow co-workers. He always did so with one of the biggest smiles that you've ever seen. He's a unique individual. I remember many evenings after 6 p.m. that I'd be walking out of my office and Enrique would still be at the front, either talking on the phone to a victim's family, and it would be Enrique, myself, and Margaret Ruwamba, who was the supervisor within the victim witness office. We try and get him to go.
This is just heartbreaking that the family's standing up there like this, that this DA is trying to deliver this speech while the family is breaking down beside him. Again, I really hope that the family was aware and was comfortable, and this is where they wanted to be during this press conference, and that they weren't miscommunicated with or undercommunicated with or inappropriately communicated with to end up here at this press conference.
Go home. Say, Enrique, what are you doing here? It's time to go home. And he said, no, Mr. Early, I'll be leaving soon. I got a few things I still need to do. And yeah. You'd always say, I got a little bit more here to do. I always got someone else I'm helping, Mr. Early. And because of this close relationship, someone else will be handling this matter. There's no way this office can handle this.
That's the most appropriate response, is that somebody else needs to handle this matter. Unfortunately, through this press conference, we learned that we won't learn who is handling it. If it's not being handled locally, the next step would be the Massachusetts State Police would be handling it. If they're not handling it, then it sounds like federally it would be handled. But he kind of tiptoes around the fact that locally they're not going to be handling it. So it sounds like as of now, it might be the Massachusetts State Police, but he will not answer that question.
Everyone loved Enrique. At this time, the detectives, state police detectives assigned to our office will continue to investigate this matter. They were called to the Massachusetts State Police Academy when Enrique was injured on Thursday, and they began an investigation. They've continued to investigate and will continue to do so just as they would on any other case. And they will also work with whoever takes this matter. We don't have a cause and manner of death to release at this time, as the autopsy report has been concluded. The autopsy has been concluded, but the autopsy report has not been finalized. It will be completed by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner.
They were able to release some information about Gabby Petito's death, even though the report wasn't finalized. When they did a press conference a couple years ago, when we were all waiting to hear after they had found her body what her cause and manner of death was, they did release some information about that when the autopsy was still in the preliminary stages. So it's interesting to me that they chose to release no information at this time. Like I said, there is ways to handle it that they could release some of the information even though that report isn't finalized. It sounds like they're not willing to release any of that information.
Examiner. Now I'm going to be limited in what I can take for questions. I'll try and answer some questions. We're early into this. And again, our office isn't handling this. Today we're here for Enrique. This is all about Enrique. But I'll try and answer a few questions if I can.
It seems like he's dodging. Well, he's setting himself up to be able to dodge a lot of these questions. He's not going to answer anything. He says it's about Enrique, but I mean, even if you asked him a question about Enrique, like what's Enrique's favorite color? I doubt he could answer that. I think that this is just his best forward-facing look, and overall, I think it's a facade.
They're going to continue to investigate. I don't know what will be handling.
The reporter asked how many entities are going to be investigating, just going to be the entity that they're passing the investigation to, or if there's going to be two entities simultaneously investigating.
The investigation. I just know it will be someone without a stake in its outcome. Okay? They'll make those decisions. That's not for me to make those decisions. Again, I have a conflict. Whoever does take over this matter will be making those decisions. But right now, we're going to continue to investigate. We're going to do it just as it is. Will other things be done? I'm sure that they will. But that's something I can't speculate on at this point.
Things that involve other state troopers. Would you rather see this go to the federal level and away from the state police?
Okay.
The reporter says that the Massachusetts State Police have been under a lot of scrutiny, and would he rather this stay with the Massachusetts State Police or go up to the FBI for investigation?
I'm not going to speculate as to that, Bob. I did talk to several people about taking over this matter on Friday. I'm not going to get into who they are. And we talked about the case. My concern is that we can't investigate it, okay? And I want it done by someone who doesn't have a stake in its outcome. And I hope that answers your question.
The police are really concerned. People are really concerned that Enrique was beaten to death, that his teeth were knocked out. What are your concerns, and what do you know about what happened at the academy last week?
Again, we know it was in the boxing ring. It was videotaped. But like I said, the
reporter said that a lot of people are concerned that he was beaten to death. Then he asked what they knew about the event.
Autopsy's been concluded, but the report hasn't been finalized. So, but I shouldn't be speaking to that. It's going to be whoever we give this matter to will be able to address that. And they've got to be able to do a thorough and complete investigation. And again, it has to be someone without a stake in its outcome.
Is there a conflict of interest to have the troopers dedicated to your office? State Police Academy, MSP troopers, is that a conflict?
At this point,
The reporter asked if having the MSP investigate is a conflict of interest since this event happened at the MSP Academy.
We have a conflict as an office, but right now we can't stop this investigation. And the state troopers that we have assigned to our state police detective unit are some of the finest, most professional people that I've ever dealt with in my life. And I am certain that they will continue to do this in a professional way. And we've got to do things. You just can't stop an investigation. There's some things that have to be, they're time sensitive, they have to keep going. But whoever does handle this matter will have an opportunity to review everything from top to bottom, bring in outside consultants, do whatever they think they need to do with regards to this.
The reporter asked who's making that decision.
I'm speaking to people now about whether or not, who will take it and who, if they have the ability to take it, and we're going back on different things right now. I don't think another DA's office is appropriate.
Will it be another DA's office?
But I don't want to get into that either. Again, they have state troopers that work, and, it's a paramilitary organization and there's a chain of command. So again, I'd like to see someone take this that doesn't have a stake in the outcome of this case. Oh, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get in. I'm we don't know enough. I'm not going to speculate on that again. I just want to have someone looking at this, eyes looking at this, who doesn't have a stake in the outcome of the case.
You have a grieving family next to you that are concerned that this may be criminal. Do you believe that?
That was by far the biggest eye roll ever. He says, "You have a grieving family beside you," and that guy goes, "Ugh," and rolls his eyes. This guy cannot wait to get away from this podium. I'm sure that he didn't intentionally mean to make that outward gesture of emotion, but he did. And I hope that everybody clips it and puts it on a roll over and over and over again, because he came into this press conference with the intention of diverting. Came in to divert, to say the nice things about Enrique and then get out. And he's not quite getting off that easy. Close, but not quite. And he doesn't like it. And he just showed it on his face. And he just showed it by the sigh that he just made.
You have a grieving family next to you that are concerned that
And there it was again.
this may be criminal. Do you believe there's anything criminal that happened at the academy?
Not going to speculate. That's too early in the investigation. Again, I got a conflict. They have a conflict. We have a conflict. We love Enrique. And again, this is about Enrique today. We want to make sure that what needs to be done gets done. And again, by someone without a stake in the outcome of this case.
Are any policy changes going to take place at the academy while the investigation is happening?
Yeah, that'd be a question for the state police.
Why did Enrique want to
His family is looking for privacy right now, but as they tell me, it was his lifelong dream to be a state trooper. I begged Enrique to stay. I said, "Come on, you got a place home. You got a home here."
That is the part that he has practiced. And you can tell. You can tell that he has switched back over to the questions that he feels comfortable with them asking, because he has practiced answering those. He has practiced the emotion that goes with them.
And we talked about maybe when he's a state trooper coming back and being a state police detective as well within our office. Because I thought he is such a fine, upstanding young man. He'd be the perfect representative for his family, his community. He's just an amazing young man.
Would they be able to say a couple of words for us?
They don't want to, and they're just asking for privacy. Yeah, I don't think any of that's changed. Yeah. Do you want to say anything, or? Your call. You don't have to. It's up to you.
Queremos que respeten privacidad, el dolor.
No, they don't want to say anything. Just ask that you respect their privacy at this point.
I was just looking at the microphones here at the podium. I see them all marked, but I don't see any of them marked for a station that is a Spanish producing, speaking only station. I really wish that was available to them where they could speak without feeling like this white guy was kind of like pigeonholing, policing them in some sort of way. It may not be the case. It's just the feeling, and it's just the presence of where he's standing, where they are standing, his reaction, their reactions, and it's just the overall appearance of it. I don't particularly care for it. I wish that they felt more represented if they wanted to be. Again, they might not want to be.
You know, all his coworkers are over here. This is just an amazing kid. Isn't about a year and a half. And I tell you, if he wasn't well, the nicest, if he wasn't, he was one of the nicest employees that ever worked for us, if not the nicest employee. That smile lit up a room, and he could handle people. He'd take Margaret, his supervisor, say, Enrique, you got to get up to the courtroom. You got to get up to the courtroom. And you get just a minute, Margaret. I have to finish with this person. I'm almost done. They want to be heard. I got to help them. And Margaret does an incredible job with her staff, about 24 people, and I know Enrique was one of her favorites.
He's telling a story about Enrique, but he's also looking back down at his note, which is interesting to me. I don't know if he is trying to remember the story that he has prepared, which just kind of makes him look disconnected to Enrique, as if he doesn't work as closely to him as he would like us all to believe, or he didn't, rather.
Still,
Joe, what does it mean that he was continuing with his dad, given the oath of office before his passing, that he will not be remembered as a trooper in Massachusetts?
you know, I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to ask the state police with regards to that. I'm not going to get into that.
Can you clarify the video and your decision on what investigation will the governor have to say on who should pick up this investigation?
You know, right now we have jurisdiction of the case, and as you can see, we can't handle this case because we have a conflict. Again, we love Enrique. You know, I'm sure other people are going to be weighing in on the case. There'd be some appropriate questions for other people.
This weird going back to love bombing, this weird, I can't help you, I can't answer these questions, we loved Enrique, we loved Enrique, we loved Enrique, now get me out of here, is how that feels.
But we think right now, based on the amount of questions you have, based on the activity, based on the family's concerns, we're going to get someone to review this matter that does not have a stake in its outcome. Our office, yes, we're going to decide where it goes out to. And again, we're trying to keep it as transparent as possible. And that would be,
He says we're trying to keep it as transparent as possible, but the reality is he is not trying to keep anything transparent. He is trying to push everything off on the next entity that is going to do the investigation. He is trying to walk his happy ass right off that stage and right back to where it came from. He doesn't want to be any part of this. He doesn't want to answer for it. He doesn't want to be investigating it. He doesn't want to even be up there speaking about it. He doesn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
you know, let someone else take a look at it. Can't get into that at this point. I'm sure that'll all be part. I can't speculate. Can't speculate as to any of that.
Right now, you want to get it.
I have not. No, I'm not.
He says that he can't speculate to anything that's been caught on a video, which there has been rumors that there's been a video of the sparring match, and then he admits that he hasn't watched it.
Not looking to give it to another DA's office. I don't think that would be fair to my fellow DAs. They all have state police detective units. They all have a chain of command. I'm looking for someone who can look at this with an independent view, who doesn't have a stake in its outcome.
I don't think he's going to watch that video because I think he wants plausible deniability. He wants to say, I didn't see it. I didn't look at it. I didn't touch it. La, 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 la. It wasn't me. I don't know anything about it. Keep me out of it. He wants to be able to be called to the stand when an internal investigation goes on and say, I got myself recused from this the second it happened. I said that it was a conflict of interest and I walked out of here and didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't touch anything. I didn't look at anything. I had my press conference and then I recused myself and stayed away from this as far as possible. Like he does not want to be involved in this at all.
I don't know where we're gonna go on that, Bob. The people I talked to were in state. I talked to about 4 different entities on Friday afternoon about the possibility of taking this over for us. Okay.
He talked to 4 different entities about them taking it over. So on Friday afternoon, he talked to 4 different entities and was like, hey, you guys need to come get this case because I don't want it. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Okay.
Think you'll have a decision
I don't know.
sometime this week?
I would hope. I would hope so. I would hope so. Yeah. Yeah, I would hope so.
I want to see if anybody else would like to say anything about Enrique for us? Anybody else? People that work with him?
Your people don't want it.
Family doesn't. Anybody else?
I don't know what that means by your people don't want to talk. I would really have loved it if there would have been a representative for the family there, like a victim advocate or somebody who, like a lawyer or a representative, a bilingual lawyer or representative, someone who was only focused on their interests. I mean, I know that that might not be affordable for them personally. I don't know anything about their financial situation, but all things considered, with this happening at the MSP Academy, it should have been, I mean, at minimum, I would say probably provided.
We're going to leave that alone for right now. These guys are hurting. They were all downstairs crying 5 minutes ago. We're going to give them a break right now, okay? Sure. As being investigated.
Something happened, another situation happened, and he's commenting on it.
Right now, it appears we have 2 dead, waiting to get a report back. We don't have anything else for you at this point. Okay, excuse me. 1 dead, 1 critical. 1 dead, 1 critical. I'm sorry.
He'll talk about that all day long.
It was at the academy. I don't know who has ownership of it.
One of the reporters asked if it was Massachusetts state property, and he answered that it was at the academy, and he doesn't know who has ownership of like the academy building.
Of it, I just know that who's ever doing the investigation will have that. I have not.
I think this is personal for you because he was such a great employee and he went on to go into law enforcement. How difficult is this for you as the DA?
This is as hard as it gets. I mean, I love that kid.
The reporter asked how personal it is for him. He says, it's as hard as it gets. I loved that kid. Jury's out on that. I don't think that he's showing that emotion. I think what he's doing is trying to get as far away from this incident as possible.
Love that kid. He's just the nicest kid in the world. I said kid, he was 25. He's a young man. Whole life in front of him. It's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's hard for all of us. I'm not the only one in this office suffering. There are a lot of people hurting right now.
I get preacher man vibes from him, as if he knows the proper emotion to show, but it's not quite genuine. I'm not saying that he's like absolutely like a serial killer, cynical, like has no emotion in his body. I'm just saying I don't think that his emotional fortitude is quite there. I don't think he's as attached to Enrique as he is motivated to get away from this case.
Okay. What's that? Pray for him. Say prayers. Say prayers for his family. They're hurt. All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for now. That's just the first look of Enrique Delgado Garcia. Hopefully, we get some more information. I'm interested to see if we get more information about his injuries and what that looks like. Again, I suspect that he was stomped on, which is a horrible, horrible, horrible thought, and it should not have been happening in any sort of sparring situation. So, if you've made it this far, thank you guys so much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe to help my little mediocre at best YouTube channel grow. Thank you.